it will give you an accurate prediction as a percentage of the chances of getting into that university. So it will say Imperial College, geography, 76% of getting in. And then it will give you the list of how you can improve your application if Imperial was your first choice.
Today on Global Student Voices, I'm joined by Peter Sung Kyu Kim, known simply as Peter for me because I'm old. Peter has a PhD in biochemistry from Cambridge, and his research is focused on collagen and molecular biology that keeps human tissue working. He's the founder of Veribera. I'll let him correct my pronunciation on all these, but the science-focused private tuition company, and the creator of FutureMap, which is a very exciting system that I hope we get to talk a lot about. He's building Veribera, a group of educational ventures, and is based in Cambridge, UK. Peter, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Hello, Scott. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you for inviting me to the show.
You described yourself as a journey from music to science to education. Walk us through that. How does that happen?
Yeah, so let's just say it's been an interesting path towards how I've got here eventually. When I was younger, so condensing it into very short sentences. When I was younger, I wanted to become a pianist. That was my dream, to become a musician. I would say I had some talent in it because I was quite good. Most Asian, children are very good at instruments, right? And a lot of teachers around me would really push me towards that path. Say, you have to become a pianist, you have to do music. And that kind of fueled my desire to become a musician even more. But then the thing is, my parents are very strict and old-fashioned, and they said no. So basically, what I had to do was just to decide the second best thing that I was good at, which was science. And that led me to study science most of my life. And then this is where I, ended up doing research at Cambridge, and then eventually having to teach a few of the students around where I was. And I really found that rewarding and really fun at the same time. And I thought, right, I found what I wanted to do with my life now, finally. And this is where I am.
That's amazing. And your research is real. Like you're a researcher. So you're still publishing, and a lot of educational entrepreneurs kind of come at it the business side first, but I think you come at it from the lab first. How do you think that scientific mindset, being a scientist, how does that impact the way you tutor and the way you build educational products?
Yeah, so I think another very fascinating thing about science is that when you are in the deepest core of really researching new things, new equations, new information about science, is that you see GCSE and A-level IB students, you look at their textbooks and you think, wow, this is where all this started from. And the funny thing is, what they teach in school is that they sort of think that the textbooks are like the Bible, right? It's there, it's correct, and you have to learn this line by line, which is okay in some ways, okay, fair enough. But then what I found was that, as a researcher myself, all this is kind of it's a template. So we are building from this knowledge bit by bit as each day as scientists discover more and more. We're building onto that. And that's why, I've never thought about this before as a student, but why would you? But, it says in every textbook, it says edition 1 or version 1, etc. at the beginning of the textbook.
Yeah.
And it changes every few years. And then now it makes sense to me that it's, oh, wow, okay, it's because all these amazing scientists around the world are doing more research, and therefore textbooks are changing. So what I try to, the way that I want to teach children in science, at least, because that's my topic, is that, you need to be inspired. Textbook isn't the end. You have to understand that there is more in life, and that, if science is your interest and is your fuel, then you have to really get out there. You have to be passionate about what you do, and then you have to think, right, I'm going to set out. This is my goal. I'm going to do experiments. I'm going to do research, and I'm going to find new things that will help people and help others.
Yeah, that makes sense. I came to science kind of late in life. I'm not a scientist, but I just, when I was in school, I didn't like science. I didn't like memorizing. That's all I thought the science was: memorizing equations, memorizing, codes, and the whole, chemistry to me was just like a constant series of trying to memorize a
Yeah.
bunch of letters. Later in life, I discovered that science was really about how things work, and just kind of in that whole discovery and the scientific method, which oddly enough I had learned quite effectively in my schooling. I just didn't realize I was learning it, and
Mm.
I've been applying that in a variety of things, including education. And I think when I look at what you're doing with FutureMap, I see kind of that in action with students. So as you're tutoring and working with students that are globally mobile, kind of crossing cultures, trying to figure themselves out, what do you see as kind of among the missing pieces? What are families missing that are kind of leading to struggles?
Yeah, I mean, just from my experience is, I mean, I would say experiences are such an important factor of what we do, because without this, I mean, I would have believed that just teaching a certain topic, I would say that I was a good teacher because students understand and they say thank you, all that at the end. But then experiences are really invaluable because, coming back to your point, I wouldn't have thought that that missing piece was just information. From
Mm.
what, from the 10 years that I've taught and talked to different parents, etc., around the world, is that they would come to me and say, well, this is what I know. But then I would say, well, where did you get the information from? It's either they've Googled or they've read it somewhere in a book or in a magazine or something, or they've talked to another counselor, consultant like me. But then the thing is, it's usually very fragmented. It's not complete, and it's really sad. It's been really sad to see that they base their decisions on fragmented, incomplete information, which then sometimes works out, but other times it leads them to, I wouldn't say wrong path, because we can't predict what's going to happen in the future. And I would say that with the right intentions, you get to your into your desired future anyway. But that's just my secondary belief. But I think that it's very important to know, to have that basis of knowing all the right options and right information. So I would say that's one of the reasons why I built FutureMap, is because a lot of the questions I've been getting in the past was that they come to me as a statement and say, well, I've looked online, I just can't get into, as an example, Imperial College. And I say, what? Why would you say that? And they would say, well, for reason A, reason B, reason C. I say, well, that's just completely incorrect. I'll tell you the reasons why. So because I've seen so many, variations of these challenges happening around the world, I wanted to build something that's accessible and available and can really provide value to the students around the world. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're Interestingly enough, we were on a similar path. I was actually building my own system when
Mm,
you reached out not that long ago. I was in the midst of building this whole system out, and
right.
I'm not a scientist, so my methodology, I'm all about the experiential, and it's all relational, and I kind of come at it from, not only is the information very incomplete, it's really difficult to get. Like there's so much information, and it's just so disjointed, and we have a tendency as humans, and I think this makes, on one hand it seems logical, that
Mm,
if this path worked for someone else, if I do that path, that should work for me.
mm,
And I think what we miss is that path was worked for that person for a reason. And
yes.
if you're the same person, it's going to work,
Mm,
but you're not the
yeah.
same person, right? So that's where I think things start breaking down. So you have these two things playing on each other. One is the lack of good information or incomplete
Mm,
information. We really reliant on stories, which are very helpful and can be inspiring, but are not factual. I mean, they're not. That's not truth. It is a truth, but it's not. It's complicated.
yeah. I mean, that's exactly the reason why I thought that trialing, implementing FutureMap was very important, especially, as you said, everyone's unique. They could have similar grades, but their characteristics would be different, and their environment, their school, and everything else would be different, right? So I think it's very difficult as well as dangerous to point someone and say, listen, A has done this, therefore you would have to go the same way. Which is why I think, even though some people have pointed out the future map is a bit too long in a way that it's 80 questions that you have to complete. But in my opinion, I think it should be even more than that because
This
because
is just a piece.
exactly, this is what I mean. I mean, how can 80 questions even really understand who you are? I mean, it's impossible, right? But then my point is that 80 very specific questions, and then the other important part of this future map is that it's based on, as well as my experience, yes, but it's based on over 500,000 real data of GCSE, A levels, and IB, real students' data. And therefore, in my opinion, what you've raised just now is I think is the core difficulty and danger of us as counselors telling someone's story. But because this is based on such a vast data, I think it will give I would say, a slightly more accurate way of pointing someone to where they could be or something that they could do in the future.
Yeah, I think what's beautiful about it, as I've been exploring it, and you've got it, and I've been talking to you, and we've been trying to sort this out. One of the things that I really like about it, no, I still think people need human connection. Like there still needs to be a human to interact with, and I know that we're all trying to be efficient, and we're all inherently, at least I'm a bit lazy in the process. Like I want the shortest path. I think 80 questions is unbelievably short path. I think it's almost a
Mhm.
miracle how much you can decipher in just 80 questions, because this is the kind of thing that would take 80 conversations
Mhm.
to get to without it. I think it's such a useful tool. And then to work with somebody who gets to know you and can see you in terms of, can react to your reactions to how you're interpreting the data. I mean, I think working with somebody, this could be so helpful. I think every counselor just needs to be like, yes, please. Like, how have we not had this before? Pardon the interruption. Thanks for listening to this episode of Global Student Voices. We're glad you're here. We try really hard to provide good content for international school leaders, parents, and students. But to know what you want to hear, we need to hear from you. So please reach out and let us know what you'd like to hear next. Now, back to the show.
So I think, as you mentioned, I think one of the, shall I say, worries that some of the counselors has had when I introduced this, when someone used it, is because is what they've said. Well, isn't this going to replace me? It feels like I'm no longer needed in this because of this tool that you've made. And I say, well,
Mhm.
that's not my intention at all. As you said, it's like a textbook. It's like a guideline. It's like it's even for us, I'm sure you would agree in certain situations where we have thought, oh, wait a second. I forgot about that university, or I could have talked about that feature about that university. We're humans and we can't, even though we have experience and everything else, but we can't remember 100% of everything that we've dealt with in our lives. And therefore, at times, even a counseling, you sometimes forget, and that's just nature, isn't it? And I think FutureMap is essential in that process where, oh yes, these are the other universities that I do know in my head, but sometimes I just forgot about them, or etc. And FutureMap provides that extra help towards the counselors in providing that the best counseling information advice as they can.
I mean, the best counselors, I don't think the best counselors have visited the most schools or remember all the best details. I think the best counselors are the best listeners, and they're the ones who really engage with the student as much as possible. If the student can come to that counseling session with excellent data that they can get from here, then
Yeah.
that just makes my interaction with them so much more valuable. I mean, I've been using other tools, and I'll say, to make this most valuable, do this assessment, do this, come with your results, and then we can really make progress. But you're like,
Yes.
oh, that's
Sure.
too much effort, that's too much work, whatever. Well, then our results are going to be less than they could be. And this is a great example. I think I've visited, and you've done research probably on more schools than I have. I think I've probably visited 350, 400 schools. I don't remember all of them, and I don't know you, and I haven't taken your data and compared it
Mm.
to all the school potential data. And there's so many countries, and there's just like the amount is. I was counting the other day, and I didn't literally count. I used AI, but I think there's 5,000 good choices.
Yeah.
Well, you can only go to one.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just really difficult. The other thing that comes into this is when we miss like it's that friction that happens. It's not that it's impossible to get from point A to point B if you take this path. It's just, I grew up in Africa, and sometimes we would bush barge, right? We would just take off across the savannah, and as we'd go across, it brings in
Mm.
risks and impediments. Whereas if you stay on the path, it just makes the experience a little bit easier, and you get to kind of enjoy things. You're not looking for the pothole; you're looking at the whole experience. But there's a mental health element that comes into all of this as well. Can you talk just a little bit about what you've observed, just in terms of what's the effect this is having on students?
Yeah, so I would say majority of the students I've taught were from Korea. Out of the around 400, I would say about 250 plus are from Korea. And I don't know how much you know about Korean education system, but it's a lot of it has been televised, a lot of it has been dramatized online, etc. But it's actually quite true, as in the fact that they would go to school at 8 a.m. This is just a normal secondary school student. 8 a.m. they go to school, and then they finish school around 5, 6, and then they go to after school academies, different subjects, until 10, 11, 12 at night. They come home, they have to do the remainder of whatever they have to do in that day, and then they go to sleep, and then that thing repeats 365 days for however many years they have to do until they go to university. So it's insane. Every single student does that and is expected to do that. And if you think that I'm exaggerating, I'm actually not. I'm actually understating this. When I tutor these students, I would say a lot of them have mental issues in a way that, some of them are just pressured. And you think that's bad, but a lot of them are pressured to a point where they don't feel like living anymore. And that when that hit me, I grew up in the UK, and I would say thank you very much to my parents for bringing me here, because otherwise I don't think I would have coped back in Korea. But living in the UK, you've never have to really deal with such issues, because here it's very free. They will say, if you like doing this, you do this. If you don't like doing this, you can try, but you don't have to. We're not going to force you to do anything here. So I thought that was the norm everywhere in the world. But then once I tutored and taught Asian and Korean students, and this is what I realized, and I had a handful of students who actually even attempted to take their lives, and that really broke my heart. As a young person, to be so aspirational, to be so happy, to enjoy their lives with their friends and with what they have, and not really doing that, but instead thinking of not wanting to live anymore. And that was something that I really wanted to reach out to, is that I want to be someone that I'm not going to be your parents. I am a teacher, yeah, sure, but I want to be someone that you can talk to whenever you feel it's getting too dark for you, when things are closing in on you. And I've been blessed in a way that I was able to help these students. And, at the end of the day, they will say, thank you so much for listening. And that, as you said, that's what they want. They want someone to listen to, because everyone around them have judged them. Even friends judge you in that kind of setting and environment, and which is very sad, but that's just the reality. And I think, yeah, FutureMap can't do that for you, but I would suppose if we have to link together with FutureMap, is that, as you said, everything becomes a little bit more efficient and it broadens your knowledge. And that FutureMap is an aspirational tool, because it doesn't say that you're a failure. Just because you have AAB, not A star, A star, A star, it doesn't say that, oh, you failed in life, and therefore you can't go to any good university. It doesn't say that. It will say, listen, you can aspire and target these universities, even if you've given up on them, but we'll give you different guidelines as to how you can improve your current situation. And I think that gives them a boost and say, listen, today we shall start, and tomorrow you'll be better, incrementally better every day. So I think that's a good message to put it out there.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. I met with Noah Cantor from Linden Global, which they provide a lot of counseling services to students all around the world. And I think one of the great advantages of having tools like this is that it frees counselors up to spend less time talking about nuts and bolts and specific schools and specific research, and spend more time listening and being with the students, which is actually what they need much more than what you get. Yeah, I worked in Southeast Asia 7 years as a high school principal at an international school. A lot of Korean students and families. It was an American system which had a lot more freedom and really scared families until they saw the results. That students that were actually freed up had less academic rigor, actually thrived better and achieved higher, better results than those who were just rigidly captured in that kind of rat race of education overload and that highly competitive, highly comparative trap. I mean, it's just research, as a scientist, research has proven that that system doesn't produce the highest results, but some students achieve amazing results in that system, and therefore everybody's like, oh, we have to do this. I mean, yes, some students will thrive in that system, but most won't, and most end up really, really injured. Yeah, and you're right. It does break my heart. The family sitting around a kitchen table looking at what their child has to offer and trying to choose, trying to weigh over decisions. What are they, as a counselor, somebody who's seen this with 400 families, what are they putting too much weight in, and what are they underweighing? What are they not putting enough value in? I'm sorry for the interruption, and this has obviously been a wonderful conversation with Peter Kim, and I'm really enjoying it, as you can tell. But there's so much more that we want to talk about, so we've divided this episode into two, and so part two will be coming out shortly. So if you enjoyed this episode, please tune into the next episode with Peter Kim as we can continue our conversation about FutureMap and the opportunities there are for students to learn more about themselves. As always, we try to provide the best information that we can and find out information for global students, schools, and their families. If there's something particular that you would like us to explore and share with you on Global Student Voices, please let us know, and we will do that in an upcoming episode. Thank you, and have a great day.